Good day and welcome to this In Focus special right here on CNBC Africa. My name is Zinati Guma. Now, a while ago, we had the City of Johannesburg on to tell us about the progress that is being made in terms of the rejuvenation of the inner city. Now, this is a strategy that aims to boost the inner city's economy while also creating social inclusion. And today we have the honor of speaking to Councillor Lawrence Okoza, the MMC for Economic Development. Just talk to me about the economic impact that this rejuvenation project has had thus far.
Well, thank you very much. I think the inner city of any metropolitan center is really the representation of what that city is about. And the city of Johannesburg is no exception. So if you look at our inner city, it tells the world what the city is about in terms of arts, culture, heritage, the economy, industry, architecture, everything. So it's one node that we cannot allow to decline. And we know that the inner city has been declining for quite some time, but we've put in measures to ensure that we rejuvenate the inner city. The inner city rejuvenation program is a very strategic one for us. And really it gathered steam when we made buildings available to the private sector, buildings that had been decaying for quite some time. And we've seen billions in investments coming to the city, where these buildings are being refurbished, they are being turned around. But it does not end there. We're also investing in infrastructure to ensure that there's sufficient power for the inner city, that safety and security is provided, that we deal with crime. And we are seeing a lot of investments going into the city. The most exciting part for us was the formal opening of the Jewel City, a private sector investment worth about 2 billion rands. It's a mixed precinct plan, a mixed precinct development that is providing opportunities in retail. There's a school there, a major residential facility. And we're excited about those. We're hoping that more will follow suit. So we're hoping to gather investments, attract investments across the inner city. Late last year, we approved the Newtown Precinct Plan, which aims to attract investment in and around Newtown. And there's great excitement from the private sector.
And I mean, obviously, the aim of boosting the economy in the inner city is to include private sector investment. And I mean, what is the story that the City of Johannesburg would like to tell private investors to attract more investment into the inner city?
Look, in the past, there were concerns from the private sector that we did not have the infrastructure to support investment in the inner city. We're investing towards more power in the inner city. We're also supporting initiatives aimed at dealing with crime and crime, because those are important when you make investment decisions. But we're also putting in a lot of infrastructure that would support these developments. But more importantly, we're also dealing with issues of applications, because when you interact with investors, they will tell you that the development application processes in the city take far too long. And we are dealing with that matter. There's an automation project that we're doing with the World Bank that would automate all our development applications so that we deal with turnaround times. For bigger projects, we've established the fast-tracking committee that would ensure that there's certainty, there's quickness in terms of our development applications. And we think those are important for the private sector. And we're working with the private sector to ensure that their investments are protected and that safety and security are provided in the city of Johannesburg. And we're quite excited that the private sector seems to be finding the inner city attractive again. We will not allow a situation where the inner city declines, because it's an important strategic node for the city of Johannesburg.
And I mean, COVID-19 has had, an incredible impact on the economy. Lots of sectors, especially during the lockdown, came to a standstill, and construction was one of the hardest hit. And I'm just interested in, the economic recovery plans. What are your plans in terms of catching up on, that construction so that, the vision is fulfilled?
No question about it. The hard lockdown dealt a severe blow to the construction sector, because it was not defined as a critical service. So you could not continue with construction. So for 3 months, there was no construction work. But we put in place measures to deal with the backlogs to ensure that the projects are completed on time. We've also set up a team that looks at dealing with blockages, so that whatever months were lost through the hard lockdown are recovered. And so far our projects are moving at high speed. Of course, in the private sector proper, some of the projects were delayed, and we've been engaging with private companies to ensure that their projects get back into the system, and that they are promoted and they are completed on time. And we're making a lot of progress in that regard. I would also add that going forward, a lot of our development applications will be automated, because that for us is important, so that we don't suffer what we suffered last time, that people with projects would have had to come to our offices and it was not possible to do so. So now projects will be deposited electronically, and we think that that would help us deal with the projects on time, quickly, and make sure that our projects move. The construction sector is very critical, because when you see construction work happening, it tells you that the city is back. And for our part, in terms of our projects are on site. People are on site. They are trying to recover the 3 months that was lost. People working extra hours, making sure that where we have to approve as the city, that we do so on time, and with the private sector as well, that the projects that were held in abeyance are brought back into the system, and that they are delivered on time.
All right, thank you very much for joining us, Councillor. That was Councillor Lawrence Khoza, the MMC for Economic Development. Now we turn our attention over to the commercial sector, and joining me is Neil Gopal, the CEO of the South African Property Owners Association, that is SAPOA. Welcome, Neil.
Thank you very much.
COVID-19 has had, a heavy impact on the economy, especially when it comes to the property sector. I just want you to give me an update on, the current state of your sector at the moment.
So, a great amount of difficulty, 2020, without any doubt. But I think we should take into consideration that the industry was coming off the back of a very difficult time, downward, incline since December 2013. And we saw the numbers in the retail environment, particularly shopping centers. 2018, 2019, foot traffic was low. And this is all on the back of a very low economic growth environment. And difficult trading conditions. So we then hit 2020, and that had an impact on the office sector as well. And half the shopping centers have remained empty throughout 2020. So very, very difficult period.
You're just talking about, the office spaces, and I just want to know, what impact does that have on your sector, especially with people now working from home, and seemingly it is going to be a trend that is going to stick?
So I think we mustn't overplay the work from home issue. I think it's not a workable solution in the long term. We have other issues locally, I think, that is quite unique to us. So with power cuts, load shedding, I think the inability for people to have a constant and a strong Wi-Fi connectivity at the house is a problem. Most office parks have generators, inverters, whatever you like, backup systems. So even with load shedding, office parks can continue. I think secondly, just personally, people trying to balance out their lives, kids, homeschooling, their pets. It's not a healthy situation to constantly work from home. So I don't see this as a trend going full force into effect into the future. It's also unhealthy for the macroeconomic situation in the country. I think it has a significant impact on the ability for landlords to pay the municipality property rates if your offices are permanently empty. So there will be a time when people do go back to the offices.
I just want to find out, what is the potential investment interest in this sector to boost job creation?
So that's a very interesting question. You've raised the issue of investment and you've linked that to job creation. I think there's one massive thing that underpins all of that, and that is policy certainty from government. That is extremely important. I think once you have certainty on some very big key issues, that in itself will drive investment, and that should naturally create jobs. So for us as a sector, we've got three or four red flags that we are extremely concerned about. The first one is obviously the threat of expropriation without compensation. If we don't get some certainty on this, how is it going to work? When is it going to kick in? And whilst we as SIPA believe that land reform is essential, given the historical context of the land issue, and that must take place, we'd like some certainty as to how it's going to take place. And as far as that is concerned, the more uncertainty there is, the lack of investment that there will be. The second one is the state of municipalities. Only 2% of municipalities are actually functional in this country. And for us as a property sector, the assets, our asset base sits in local authorities. We are the largest ratepayers. And if your local authorities are not functioning, there's a lot of wastage, mismanagement of finances, and property owners do not have control over their property rates, the cost of electricity, the cost of water. A lot of that is becoming dysfunctional. It also won't drive the investment that is required in inner cities. So that's the other red flag for us, is the failing municipalities. And then I think overall the over-regulatory market that we have, I think the fact that we have a situation where potentially the Competitions Commissioner wants to regulate rentals and escalations and getting involved in the commercial space is very, very concerning to us. That's, again, going to hold back investments in the country.
And just one last thing, Neil, what is the role and impact of commercial property in urban economic development?
Extremely important. Now, obviously, with the trend coming pre-COVID was that more and more people would like to live in inner cities, whether here or internationally. But we see that with COVID, and what we picked up last year is more people moving out of the cities, whether it's New York, London, or I guess Johannesburg. So hopefully once we're over this trend or situation and the vaccines do kick in, I think there will be a change in the inner cities. I think there will be possibly more office space that is converted to residential accommodation. And hopefully that will bring more people into the inner cities. We do need vibrant inner cities to make them work. We need them to be safe. But underpinning all of that, we need economic growth, and we need a local authority that actually functions and functions well for the citizens.
That was Neil Gopal, the CEO of the South African Property Owners Association. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Neil. And thank you to you, our viewers, for joining us on this In Focus special right here on CNBC Africa. My name is Zinathi Guma, and it's goodbye for now.